Hi, guys. Welcome to the North Texas Youth Alive podcast. And we are excited today to have a special guest along with myself. My name is Kyle Embry. I'm the Youth Alive director here in North Texas. And I've got a good friend of mine named Taylor Johnson. Taylor's been traveling with us, doing 7 projects, speaking schools, all that fun stuff for the last 4 years. And man, I can honestly say that Taylor's been one of our best and strongest presenters, communicators that's ever been with us. And here's the reason. Taylor has a true heart for students. He has a true heart for the students that are hurting and lost and honestly afflicted and going through a bunch of stuff. Taylor really loves the students no one else loves or goes and talks to. He's got a huge heart for students, and he's also a very funny guy. And so I'm excited today to just have a 15-minute conversation with Taylor. I wanted Taylor to share his heart, share his passion with kind of the youth ministry world. And so, Taylor, good to have you on the call today.
Hi, hello. How's it going?
Good. Hey, why don't you give us just an update of where you're at, kind of some things you've been doing. Maybe give us a funny story from the road. You travel all over the nation, and why don't you give us a funny story?
Yeah. Oh man. A lot of what you said is true. Yes. I really have a heart for honesty and opening up about kind of the stuff that's going on in your life. And so I started a year ago doing house shows, just an extra thing to do on the side. I was doing a lot of youth ministry, young adult ministry, some wider church events, but I also had some people contact me who weren't a part of a staff at a church who still wanted to host a show somehow. And so I started doing these house shows where 20 to 30 people would get together, and I would do a comedy show in their living room. And I was trying to figure out how to make the shows different. So I made them really interactive, where I would tell stories and then I would ask the audience questions, trying to get them to tell stories too. And the first house show I ever did, I had no idea what I was doing. It was a young adult ministry. And I didn't know what kind of questions to ask the audience to get them to talk. And I was really interested in breakups, because it's a young adult group and they're probably doing that a lot. And so I wanted to ask about, I feel like most young adults, either they do the breaking up more or they are the ones who get broken up with more. And so I was kind of polling the audience, which one are you? Which one do you fall into? And there was a guy who got broken up with more. And I was asking him, do you know that it's coming? When it happened, are you surprised, or do you kind of see it coming? And he was being really weird about his answer. And he was like, well, with my last relationship, it's kind of awkward. And the room is really weird and really tense. And then he goes, well, my last relationship was with her. And then pointed at a girl who was sitting on another couch, who apparently was his ex-girlfriend. And everyone just started screaming, laughing, because everyone knew this except for me. And what I didn't know until much later was that she had showed up with her new boyfriend. And so they're sitting next to each other, and I'm asking her ex-boyfriend about what it was like to get broken up with. And so that was the most uncomfortable I've been during a show recently. That was a year ago. And luckily they've gotten a lot better, and I know better questions to answer. So I haven't had anything weird like that happen since.
That's awesome, Taylor. I know you love being on the road. You love connecting with people. One of the things you're good at is being awkward and funny. A lot of that comes with just relating with people, and specifically students. How have you found over your years of traveling, how do you relate to students?
I think the biggest thing for me is letting them know it's okay to be honest, and letting them know that they're not the only one feeling the way that they do. When I was growing up, for the first couple of years, when I go to youth camps now, my favorite kid to find is the one who is not participating in the games, who is sitting on the side, totally bummed out, does not want to be there, so clearly forced to be there. And I love finding them, and I love sitting next to them, and I love just talking to them a little bit and being like, hey, you don't want to be here, huh? And they feel so caught off guard by the opportunity to be honest, and the fact that I'm not mad at them about it. I recognize that because that was me growing up. I was a kid, I did not want to play games. I didn't want to do any of that. I hated all that stuff. And I always felt weird, and I always felt like I was the only one. All these other kids are going crazy, and no one else feels the way I do. And it's just really nice getting to let a kid know you're not the only one. I totally understand. And you can be honest, and it's totally okay. I think that's such a big thing, is letting students know that they aren't the only one, and sharing from our weakness and the stuff that we've gone through. I think a lot of times we want students to look up to us. Paul says, "Follow me as I follow Christ," and I think sometimes we confuse that with having to put on this persona that we have it all figured out, that we are this great authority on what it means to be a Christian because we've never done anything wrong. When like even Paul is so like honest about times when he is suffering so bad, or the situation feels so bad that he thinks that it's going to end terribly, or through struggles and his weakness, that he wants to make God look great through that. And I dealt with depression. I still deal with depression, but now I actually know how to deal with it. I dealt with suicide. I dealt with cutting. I was miserable for a really long time, and I just want to be honest with students about that. To let them know you're not the only one. It's okay. Matt Chandler says it's okay to not be okay. It's just not okay to stay that way. And so letting kids know it's okay to open up about this. It's okay to talk about this, and sharing from your weakness and from when you've been bullied or when you've been a bully. Letting kids know, like, holy cow, they've gone through junk too. That is such a relief.
Yeah, that's good, Taylor. And you are the king of communicating through that, communicating through your weakness. You get an automatic buy-in from students, and you go straight to the heart. I've seen you do it 100 times, and you're really, really good. How can you help youth pastors right now that may be listening to this, how they could put together a good talk or a good story to really share through their weakness?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing for me, especially, I started doing stand-up 9 years ago, and doing a lot of figuring out and bombing and being terrible on stage, and listening to interviews with comedians. And they talked a lot about how like finding your voice on stage and finding who you are on stage. And I think the biggest thing for me that made talking on stage and presenting so much easier was feeling comfortable being 100% myself on stage. And I want to make sure that the way that I talk, the way that I joke, the way that I try to convince someone when I'm on stage is 100% the same way when I'm with my closest friends, or when I'm trying to talk to someone, in the altar. I want that to be the exact same person. Yes, because of like authenticity, and because, I want to seem the same, but also because it's just, I don't know, it's just easier for me. It's easier for me to think of it that way, of I'm trying to convince someone when I'm on stage that it's okay to open up, and it's okay to be honest about how you feel. And I want to structure that argument and that persuasion the same way that I would structure an argument for why I think Chipotle is better than Freebirds. and that with that intensity, with the way that I would use illustrations, I want it to feel as natural to me, because it's easier to remember, because it'll be so unique. I don't have to try to sound like someone else. When I first started, I quoted Matt Chandler. I just wanted to sound like Matt Chandler so bad. And other guys where I want to sound like them, because I feel like that's what it has to be. But I don't know, it becomes so much easier, and it flows out so much quicker once I comfortable 100% being myself. I feel like that's been the key, especially with doing the school assemblies and the segments and stuff. It doesn't take me as long to write it, because I kind of just think through the idea. I'll have like a list of, okay, I can do this illustration, I can make this point, and I kind of like list everything out, not in order. And then I can look at it and think, I start to like imagine myself, I don't know, I talk it out loud to myself alone in a room. And then naturally, whatever order it comes out, I guess that's the order it's supposed to be, because that's how I would do it. And I guess that's when I would bring this part in. Okay, well, that makes sense. And just kind of going through it how I would naturally do it on my own.
Yeah, it's good. And what you're saying there is that we all need practice and a little preparation to put it all together. But Taylor, all of that stuff points to one thing that you're most passionate about, and that's the gospel. And that God is made known and made famous and great through all of that. And how have you seen through your testimony, your weakness, kind of your even comedy, how you've been able to make God's name great through all of that?
Yeah, I think I don't know. I want to make it so clear how messed up I am on my own, and how screwed up I am on my own, and that the only thing that changed everything was God. And I've been doing a lot of research and a lot of thinking about this kind of stuff, because as I've gone to churches and preached about being vulnerable and being open to students and young adults and to churches, I've realized that sometimes I don't prepare the altar workers that well for this, and prepare leaders for, what if a student does come to you and say that they're thinking about cutting, or that they're depressed, or they're bullied, or they have this huge issue in their life. Like, what do you do when they come to you and say that sort of thing? Because I think we feel a lot of pressure that, oh my gosh, in this altar moment, I need to think of the perfect sentence to say. I need to think of just the right thing to do or say that's going to fix this situation and make everything better. And we put all that pressure, and that can lead us to say and do a lot of silly and bad things. I've had people say really dumb things to me in the altar because of that pressure. And I think it was this last school assembly 7 project that we did, when we were kind of praying before the night service, and we were getting ready for that altar time. And I just really I just started to think about, I think God was telling me, this sounds so weird. He doesn't need me. He does not need me for the life change that he's going to have in this person's life. He can do it 100% on his own, but he involves me like it's bring your son to work day. Mm-hmm. And I get to stand there and I get to witness God do something incredible. And that is the greatest experience for me to get to have, and for that person to have. And it's not that I'm going to change them. It's not that I'm going to fix them. It's not that I'm going to revolutionize their life. I just get to be there when God does it. And I feel like that takes so much pressure off of me. And I feel like that can change the way that I talk, because I don't have to make myself sound like I have it all figured out, or that I have been great this whole time, because I haven't. Just God has shown up and done something incredible in my life, and he can do that in your life. And I get to stand there and listen to you and pray with you and just watch God do something incredible. And that I just got to be obedient. I'm not going to change your life. And I don't know, that I feel like that makes God look so much bigger.
That's so good. So I love the analogy of father and son taking them to work. Mm-hmm. It's kind of what we all do. And for all the youth pastors, that's a reminder of kind of us getting out of the way and let him shine. And it's not about us. You mentioned something about altar and spending time there. Taylor, I know one of your big passions right now is altar, is those prayer moments, counseling moments. Could you just take 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and tell us what you kind of been processing in your mind about altar time?
Yeah. So like I said, I've been doing a lot of research on this, because I've been meeting with counselors and Christian counselors or different pastors, and just hearing their thoughts on this, because I do feel like this is a place where a lot of us can grow. I know that I've been members of churches or leaders in churches where, leaders are just kind of people who are there. And then when it's time for the altar, they're brought in, there's no real training that happens for them. And I think that is a huge thing that we definitely need to do. And like I said, taking that pressure off of, you don't have to say the perfect thing. In fact, most of the time, don't say anything. The altar is the beginning of life change for this person. It's a lot of times the beginning of the process of sanctification that will take them from where they are to where they're going to be. And a lot of times they're opening up about something for the very first time. And you just have to stand there and listen. No matter what they say, just standing and letting them know, it's okay that you're saying this. It's okay that you're expressing that you feel this way, that this has happened. You're not in trouble. I'm not mad. I'm not going anywhere, because a lot of times those are the fears that stop them from talking about it. and just kind of listen until God tells you to do something else. And sometimes it's just pray for them. And sometimes it's getting to a place with them where it's okay for you to walk with them over to the youth pastor and open up to them. Or is it okay if we set up a meeting where we can talk to your parents, or whatever that looks like? And I just, training those leaders to let them know, like, just listen for the most part, and also preparing them for, have you talked to your leaders about how your church handles if someone admits to abuse? Do you guys have a system in place if someone talks about something that has happened to them or is happening to them, or if they're having suicidal thoughts? Do your leaders know what to do in those situations? Because that is so important, not just spiritually, but also legally. That is so important. And so that's my encouragement. And that is, it's an important place. And a lot of times really messy things get said to students who are opening up for the first time, and it can do a lot of damage. And so we got to be prepared for it.
It's good. Sometimes we think the altar is the last thing, but really when we prepare a message, we get a talk together, that altar's got to be the very first thing. You got to know how to handle those tough situations. And Taylor, I love your passion for that. Hey, one last question. What's something you would say to youth pastors out there, maybe to church leaders, maybe to the volunteer that may be listening to this? What's a passionate truth that's on your heart right now, kind of you want to leave them with as we conclude this talk today?
We were talking about this a little while ago, and just the idea that when you're bringing someone in to minister, or if you're bringing a Seven Project into your, or a comedian or whatever it is, to be a part of what your church is doing, the importance of remembering for them, the people who are coming, and also for you, that they are there to serve the church and you're not there to serve them, which is something I got really backwards when I first started. And I would just contact people and just be like, hey, can I come do my thing? Like, can you give me a stage where I can be funny for a minute? And that didn't go anywhere. And it wasn't a good approach. And just realizing, like, for myself and also for Seven Projects, that we are there to serve the church, and we are there because we feel like we have something of value to help equip, to come alongside, that there is something of value there that we can bring to the church. And if we believe that, of course, we would reach out to churches, and we would 100% go to all these different churches because we feel like we have something of value. And the importance of remembering that on the other side too. On the flip side, I had some pastors when I was first starting out, I could tell that the only reason they wanted to bring me in was because they had to kill time and they thought they could convince me to do it for free. And it wasn't because they thought I had anything valuable to bring. It wasn't because they thought that something, I don't know, because, I know that Taylor is passionate about confession or this, and I think that that is something that our church, we really need to do right now. Like, it was nothing like that. It was just, we need to kill some time. We need some background noise, and I bet I could get them to do it for a Target gift card. No, it should be because of the value that you think that they can bring, and like the value that Seven Projects can bring of getting a community behind these school assemblies and getting churches from all these different denominations together, which is so crazy. Only watching them work together and watching the amount of kids who come back for the night service and come down to the altar, and to see the like giant stack of these little slips of paper where kids have committed to Christ for the first time and they're looking for a church home, and to see the excitement in the youth pastors when they are divvying up these cards amongst themselves, that like this is the beginning of a really awesome season for them, and we got to be a part of that because of what we do best. It helps them, and that's really cool to see.
That's awesome. Taylor, appreciate your time today. Love your heart. Most people think, Taylor's a funny guy, he's a comedian. But what people need to understand today is that, Taylor, you have a tremendous heart for students, for the lost, and for the down and outs, the brokens. And I just wanted to give you a little bit plug here today. If someone's maybe looking to bring in Taylor, you go to TaylorJohnsonOnline.com, TaylorJohnsonOnline.com, and he will come and serve your church, not vice versa. He's there to help you. And Taylor, I appreciate your heart, and thanks for jumping on the call today.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you.